If I had to lose all my body fat again, there are only 3 meals that I would build my entire diet around. Not because they're low in calories, not because they're keto, and definitely not because they're trendy, because together they solve the biggest problems that people struggle to lose fat. Constant cravings, eating hundreds of extra calories without even realizing it, and a metabolism that feels like it's working against you instead of with you. Look, after spending nearly 20 years studying metabolism and nutrition, looking at the research, interviewing the top experts in the world and coaching over 100,000 people, these are the 3 meals I keep coming back to. I'm going to show you exactly what they are and the science behind them and why each of them work. And make sure you stay with me until meal number 3 because it exposes one everyday food mistake that research shows can quietly sabotage your fat loss efforts without you ever noticing. Let's start with meal number 1. My first meal usually lands around 11 o'clock a.m. or 12 o'clock p.m. and it almost never changes. This is the meal that breaks my overnight fast. So I want it to count. So technically this is my breakfast. I am breaking my fast with this meal. I usually have 4 or even 5 pasture-raised eggs with the yolk, a palm-sized piece of protein, usually leftover steak or sausage or even pork bacon or beef bacon, or sometimes a scoop of high-quality protein with water and ice. That's it. No toast, no oatmeal, no heart-healthy cereal. And the whole point of this first meal is to hit at least 30 grams of protein at the minimum right when I break my fast. Here's why that number matters. There's a hypothesis from 2 researchers, Simpson and Rubenheimer, called the protein leverage hypothesis. And the idea is wild once you hear it. You see, your body has a target for protein. It will literally keep you hungry, keep you eating until you hit that protein target that day. So if your breakfast is low in protein, like most people who have a bagel, a muffin, or cereal, that means your body is not satisfied. It doesn't care that you ate 600 calories. It's still searching for protein, these essential amino acids. So it drives you to eat more and more and more all day, chasing a number you never gave it up front. They tested this in lean human beings in a controlled study. What they did is they disguised the food so people couldn't tell what they were eating. When the protein percentage of their diet dropped, people overeat almost everything else in order to hit that protein target. The lower the protein, the more total calories they ate. Same appetite, but way more food. Think about what that means. Most people's cravings hit hard at 9 o'clock a.m. And that is not a discipline failure. They're in a protein depth that they created with their first meal. You see, you just simply didn't feed the body what it was looking for up front. So it kept the tab open all day long. Here's the proof that this works when you front load on protein. Here's where it gets practical. Researchers ran a randomized crossover trial, giving people either a high protein meal as their first meal with around 30 to 39 grams of protein, or a low protein meal, or no protein at all. Now, every option was about the same calories. The high protein group had better appetite control, lower blood sugar, and less insulin spikes after eating, and they ate less throughout the rest of the day. See, that first meal of the day quietly lowered how much they ate later without anyone telling them to eat less. And in kids and teenagers, a meta-analysis of randomized trials found that a protein-rich breakfast dropped their later calorie intake by 111 calories and left them measurably fuller. So that's number 1 here. Get at least 30 grams of protein for your first meal of the day, whether that's at 8 o'clock a.m. or like me around 11 o'clock a.m. or 12 o'clock p.m. Because remember, you're not eating to fill your stomach. You're eating to close the protein gap before your body spends the rest of the day trying to chase it. This is where I see most people struggle, not because they don't understand protein. They do. The problem is that life gets in the way. You're rushing to work. You're getting the kids ready. You're traveling. Or maybe you just don't feel like cooking steak and eggs every single morning. So breakfast turns into something very convenient and easy, like toast or oatmeal or maybe nothing at all. Then by lunchtime, you've only had 10 to 15 grams of protein. And remember what we just talked about, your body doesn't stop asking for protein until it gets enough. So that leads to afternoon cravings, to constant food noise, that urge to snack after dinner. Many times that's not a lack of willpower. It's your biology trying to collect protein. You never gave it earlier in the day. That's exactly why I keep Equip Foods Prime Protein in my kitchen. Not because protein powder is better than whole foods. It isn't. I would never say that. Whole foods will always be my first choice, and it should be your first choice as well. So, if I have the time, I'm cooking and eating the eggs with the yolk, the grass-fed beef and lamb, the organic chicken and turkey, or even small fatty fish like wild-caught sardines or wild-caught salmon every single time. But life isn't perfect. I'd rather have a clean protein shake option than skip it altogether or have something that is low in protein. That's where Equip has become one of my favorite tools. Look, the reason I trust this product right here is because it's made with real food ingredients, just 4 of them. Grass-fed and finished beef protein isolate, meaning there's no whey in this. There's no dairy. They use real cacao, a touch of natural sweetener, and sea salt. That's it. No seed oils, no gums, no soy, no artificial ingredients or sweeteners, no fillers. And because it does not contain whey protein, it's much more easier on digestion for many people who don't tolerate dairy very well. And that's about 75% of the population, by the way. 1 scoop takes less than a minute, gives you over 20 grams of clean protein. They have different flavors like the chocolate, which tastes like a real chocolate milkshake. I do recommend getting the chocolate, the vanilla, or even the peanut butter. And this one here is also one of my favorites, the cookies and cream. Look, this makes hitting that 30-gene protein target much easier. And here's something else I love. It costs around $2 per serving. Think about that. For the price of a cup of coffee, you're giving your body one of the most important, strongest hunger-controlling signals you can give it. Not another processed breakfast, not another protein bar, real clean protein. Now, if today's lesson so far has helped you realize you're falling short on protein, don't let convenience sabotage your progress. Equip has given my community exclusively right here on YouTube 20% off their protein. Just click the first link right below this video in the description box or scan the QR code on the screen right now. The discount is already applied and your order is backed up by a 100% money back guarantee, so you can try it completely risk-free. So when you go to that link, you're going to see this page right here, their Prime Protein. It has almost 1,000 5-star reviews. I'm going to do a 1-pack. If you click here, you see their flavors. They actually have a ton of different flavors. I love peanut butter. It's my favorite. So I'm going to add that one. Try once add to cart. As I mentioned, the coupon code is automatically applied. And before you check out, do yourself one more favor. Down here, if you scroll down, you can see their grass-fed collagen. I love the vanilla. I added to my coffee. I would recommend adding that to the cart as well. The coupon code is also automatically applied to the collagen. Sometimes I'll add that 1 scoop of collagen to the protein shake or even to my coffee. Here's the difference. Protein helps to build and preserve muscle. Collagen helps to support everything holding that muscle together. Your joints, your tendons, your ligaments, your connective tissue, even your skin. And after 40, your natural production of collagen starts declining every single year. That's why many people notice that they don't recover like they used to. They wake up feeling stiff. Their knees ache, their shoulders feel tight. Protein helps you stay strong. Collagen helps you stay mobile. Together. They're one of my favorite daily combinations and habits because they support not just how your body works, but how your body feels. So grab your favorite flavor, add the collagen while you're there, claim your exclusive 20% discount. Let's get back to meal number 2, because what you eat is only half of the story. When you eat might be even more important. My second meal is usually the biggest meal of the day, and it lands early afternoon, right in the middle of my window, my eating window. Usually that's around 1 or 2 p.m. for me. Not because I'm super strict about it, but because the science on when you eat and how tight your eating window is honestly stronger than what most people think. A typical main meal for me is a big pile of real food. I mean, I feast. I usually have a fatty cut of meat like ribeye or picanha, or a fatty fish like salmon or sardines. And then I'll have sometimes some vegetables like Brussels sprouts or broccoli, or even arugula cooked in butter or olive oil, and then maybe half an avocado. This type of meal is heavy, satisfying, and it's landing midday. So I have several hours left during the day to burn it. Now, this strategy here works in 2 parts. Number one, I keep all of my food, all of my calories within a compressed 6 to 8 hour eating window, usually between 11 and 5. And sometimes that gets changed a bit, but that's the general window. I put my biggest meal earlier in that window rather than saving it for the last meal of the day. This is a version of something called time-restricted feeding, and the trials on it are really impressive. It even surprised me, especially the newer research. One of those studies came from researchers who took overweight adults and did the first tightly controlled trial where they matched the food and matched the number of meals between the two groups. The only thing they changed was the clock. One group ate earlier in the day. The other group ate the same food, but later in the day. The earlier eaters had less appetite and burned more fat over a 24-hour period. Same calories in, different fat out just from moving the food earlier. Then there's a bigger randomized clinical trial published in JAMA Internal Medicine. Adults with obesity, everyone was on the same calorie plan. One group ate in a compressed early window, the other ate across a normal longer day spread from morning to night. Both groups cut calories at the same amount. The early eating group lost more weight and had better cardiometabolic markers even though the calories were equal. And a big network of meta-analysis pulling together 41 randomized trials over 2,000 people found the same exact pattern. Eating in a compressed window earlier in the day, finishing earlier, ranked at the top for improving weight, waist size, and blood sugar control. Now, a lot of these studies used windows that started earlier in the morning, and that's great if that works for you. For me, mine starts at 11 a.m. or sometimes 12 p.m. because that's what actually fits my life. I'd rather you run and use a window you could stick to for years than a perfect one you quit after a week. Now, the two things that carry the most benefits here are the ones I can control. I keep the window tight at 6 hours, sometimes 8 hours, but that is the maximum. And I finish eating by 5 p.m. So I'm not digesting a big meal at midnight where my body needs to burn fat and detoxify. That's the part that moves the needle the most. I want that to sink in for you. Two people could eat the same exact food, same exact calories and macronutrients. The one who eats earlier will lose more fat. You see, your metabolism runs on a clock, and you could either work with it or fight it 3 times a day. That's why I front load. My biggest meal of the day is earlier in my window. When my body handles fuel the best and the tail end of my eating window, that meal gets lighter around 5 p.m. Look, I'm not starving myself at night and dealing with all these cravings and relying on willpower to get through it at night. That's not happening because I get enough protein. I'm just letting my body finish the job in daylight instead of asking it to process a huge meal while I'm trying to sleep. And if you do nothing else from this video, try this for 2 weeks. Pick a 6-hour eating window. Make your first meal your biggest meal and stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. Don't even change your food or your diet. Nothing. Just tighten the window. That's it. Then come back to this video and let me know what it did to your energy and to your belly fat. Meal 3 is my last meal of the day. Sometimes it's 3 meals, sometimes it's 2 meals, but it's done by 5 o'clock p.m. It's the one that almost nobody gets right. That last meal of the day, mine is simple. It closes my eating window. And it's built around 2 ideas, what I eat and the order I eat it in. A normal last meal for me includes protein first. Then if I have vegetables, vegetables second. And then if I have carbs, the carbs, which is starch or fruit, that is at the end of the meal. So that would be salmon or steak first. Greens like arugula, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower second. And if I had some sweet potato or white rice, I have that at the very end of the meal. I know it sounds basic, but this sequence is doing some really positive work on my blood sugar. And finishing this meal at 5 p.m. means I'm not spiking my blood sugar and insulin right before bed, which is the most important time for fat loss. Look, here's one study on this that blew my mind, and it's the perfect example of why what you eat together matters as much as what you eat. Blueberries, one of my favorite fruits out there, they're loaded with polyphenols. These protective compounds are linked to better heart health, better brain health. They're great, but bananas contain an enzyme called polyphenol oxidase. And when researchers looked at what happens when you blend the two together, blueberries and bananas, the bananas enzyme broke down a big chunk of the blueberries polyphenols. So you're thinking you're throwing in a healthy organic banana into your smoothie, and it's quietly canceling the very thing you added the blueberries for. I love that study because it proves a bigger point. Your body doesn't see healthy foods. It only knows chemistry. Combinations matter. And the same logic runs in the other direction in your favor if you are smart about it. There's research showing that adding a healthy fat like avocados or extra virgin olive oil to your vegetables dramatically increases how many of the fat-soluble nutrients, vitamins A, D, E, and K. Also, the carotenoids helps you actually absorb these important nutrients. We're talking several times more absorption just by adding fat to the same vegetables. So when I cook my greens in butter or drizzle real olive oil on my salad, yes, it's for flavor, but it's not just for flavor. That's me unlocking nutrients that would otherwise pass right through me. Same vegetables, but way more benefit. The difference is what I just said, chemistry. And here's maybe the most important fact in this entire video because it flips the whole calories in versus calories out story on its head. The NIH ran an inpatient study. People lived in a research center, so scientists controlled every single bite. They put the same people on 2 diets, 2 weeks each. One was an ultra-processed diet. The other was an unprocessed real food diet. And here's the trick. They matched for calories. They matched for sugar, fat, salt, and even fiber. Then they let people eat as much or as little as they wanted. On the ultra-processed diet, people ate around 500 extra calories a day and gained weight. On the real food diet, the same people, remember, they naturally ate less and lost more weight. That's pretty wild that they were eating over 500 more calories every single day without noticing it on that processed diet. A follow-up trial in Japan found an even bigger gap, over 800 calories a day, and noticed people were chewing less and eating faster on the processed food. This is why my last meal is boring on purpose. Meat, vegetables, fat, cooked at home, because the science is brutally clear. The closer your food is to how it came out of the ground or from the animal, the less your body overeats it. Processing hijacks the off switch. So let's tie this whole day together because these 3 meals are not random. There are 3 signals. Your first meal is protein, at least 30 gyros the moment you break your fast, so your body closes that protein tab and stops hunting for it all day long. Remember, low protein up front is why you're raiding the pantry at night. Your main meal is about timing. Keep a tight window and make your first meal or second meal the biggest, and let your metabolism burn that food in daylight. Look, same food in a compressed window finished earlier means more fat loss for you, and that's not my opinion. That's from randomized controlled trials. Your last meal is about chemistry and quality. Eat it in order. Protein first, vegetables second, and if you have carbs, carbs last. Add real fats to your vegetables to unlock the nutrients. And keep it unprocessed because processed food, as I referenced, will lead to you probably eating 500 calories or more extra calories every single day. So it's about protein, timing, and quality. That's the whole system. You don't have to count calories. You don't have to starve yourself. You're simply changing the signals so your body feels safe and it lets the fat go. And before we finish, I want to give you something special. If you've been enjoying these YouTube videos, just know this is where I teach you what to do. But my podcast, The Bonatti Show, is where I actually help you do it. It's my brand new show on Apple Podcast and Spotify, created to help you move beyond information and create real transformation. Every Monday is Metabolic Monday. I sit down with world-renowned doctors, researchers, health experts to bring you the latest breakthroughs on health, longevity, anti-aging, and biohacking. Every Tuesday is Transformation Tuesday. We dive into mindset, habits, and the daily practices that help you finally follow through and become the healthiest version of yourself. Every Friday is Freedom Friday. We have real conversations about creating freedom in every area of life, from your metabolism and your health to your time to your purpose to the way you show up in the world. Because here's what I've learned. Knowing what to do isn't going to change your life. Becoming the person who actually does it is. That's what this show is all about. And you won't find these episodes here on YouTube. They're exclusive to Apple Podcast and Spotify. So if you're ready to move beyond information and start creating real transformation, click the second link in the description box below for Apple Podcast or the Spotify link right below that. And I'll see you on The Bonatti Show. And as far as what to do after watching this video, simple. Pick one of the 3 meals I outlined and dial it in this week. Just one. You see, most people try to overhaul everything and then they quit by Thursday. Don't do that. First thing, nail your protein or nail the eating window or clean up the last meal. Master one, then stack the next. And if this lesson has helped you see foods differently, share this video with somebody you know. Post it on social media. And if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel yet, subscribe because we have videos just like this and others coming out 5 to 6 times every single week. And if you enjoyed this lesson, I just published a video on this natural Ozempic alternative that costs $2 a day. And to me, it's more effective than Ompic and GLP-1 drugs. And it doesn't cause the side effects that you might get from those GLP-1 drugs. You got to watch this video. Here's a clip from that video. Then click the video on the screen coming up in a few seconds and I'll see you in that next lesson. I kept thinking, music. There's no way something this simple does what these studies are claiming. And the numbers stopped me cold. It cuts cravings. It keeps you full for hours longer than carbs and fat. It stabilizes your blood sugar between meals. It protects the one thing that determines whether your metabolism works in your 40s, 50s, and